and Robbo.
It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben, Rob and Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 minutes.
The Ben, Rob and Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand.
Ben, Rob and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show for this big Monday edition. I hope you joined us for our Halloween special. It's online if you want to see it. It was some crazy costumes. Ben Norris and David Robinson were both there. Hello, boys. Ben, it was a fun night.
It was a really fun time. Today we've actually all been breath tested before doing the episode, so we should be able to drive this episode into some normality with some amazing hot topics.
Absolutely. And Robbo, we've got some thrilling news to bring you. Our good friend Bruno, the List King, and our Wednesday regular, has had a baby. He posted this on Twitter a short time ago saying, Laura and I are thrilled to introduce our son, Ezra Hugo Boucher. Bub and Mum are doing great. Congratulations, Bruno. Isn't that great news, Robbo?
Yes, that's brilliant news. We love them. He makes such beautiful photo there with the little daughter. Lovely. Well done. Congratulations.
We're so happy. And weirdly, even though he's just had a baby, Bruno will be getting back to work because on Wednesday, he will be joining us for our US presidential election coverage. Now, what this means is tomorrow we don't have a show. That is because of the Melbourne Cup public holiday, so there's no show tomorrow. But on Wednesday, we have our US presidential election. The Ben, Rob and Robbo show coverage starts from 9:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time on Ticker TV. Our co-hosts include Joe Hildebrand, Anjali Rao. Our guests include Dean Madigan and Bruno Boucher, among many, many others. I really hope you can join us for that coverage because it's going to be something a little bit different. So we will be on the Ticker will be doing the top 30 minutes, so from 9 until 9:30. We'll do the bottom of the hour, so 9:30 till 10 o'clock, and that will repeat all through the day as we bring you our coverage. But you will need to go to Ticker TV. We'll try and get Abby to share the Ticker feed on our Facebook page. But if you want to see it, go to Ticker TV and you will be able to get all of it from there. All right, let's get into our news of the day because there is a lot coming up and there's a lot of news to get to. And as you would have already heard by now, Anastasia Palager has secured a third term as Premier of Queensland. Heading into the election, the tough border Premier only had a 2-seat majority, but the latest projections give Labor at least 3 more seats than the 2017 election. It's looking likely Palager's government will have at least 51 seats, possibly 52, out of the 47 seats required to form government. Mrs Palager has confirmed she will continue to keep Queensland's borders closed to Sydney and Victoria until the beginning of December. Meanwhile, the LNP's hope, we've got some breaking news for you, because the LNP's hopes to win government were smashed fairly early on when counting started. Now, with 98% of the vote counted, it appears the party will only win 32 seats, which, that's down 7 from the last election. Despite saying over the weekend she would stay on as leader of the Liberal Party, the breaking news right now, about 20 minutes ago, is that Deb Frecklington has announced her resignation. Furthermore, according to the Courier Mail, support is mounting for David Crucifali to take over as LNP leader. This was actually a result that our very own Sam Dastiari was happy to predict weeks ago.
No one cares, right? She's not going to win at the end of the month. She's not going to be Premier, and she is going to go in the dust heap of opposition leaders who didn't get there.
Well, he was certainly right about that. She's gone. As of 20 minutes ago, Deb Frecklington is out as the leader of the Liberal Party. We don't yet know whether she will continue on, but it's most likely, as with what happens with all these things, is that she will resign from Parliament, forcing a by-election. We'll see how that unfolds. Meanwhile, the biggest losers of the election were Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party and Clive Palmer's United Australia Party. The Queensland Senators Party comfortably held on to the seat they hold in Mackay, but failed to expand their parliamentary footprint. And even with a mammoth $4 million advertising blitz, the Palmer Party won no seats in the election. That's despite providing 55 candidates across the Sunshine State. This is an interesting result, Robbo. Obviously, we're dealing with the breaking news about Deb Frecklington. But, you know, for all the huff and puff from our federal politicians and the Sydney media telling Palager to open the borders, despite commentary to get rid of Palager, she's destroying Queensland. Queenslanders have voted in favour of her.
Well, yeah, you've got to look around the world. Anyone who's had elections during the pandemic, the leaders are put back into power and with more power than they had before. Obviously, we've seen that most recently and most closely is Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand. It was always going to be, I think, a Palaszczuk win. She was tough on the borders, as you've said many times in the program, Rob. She was always going to do that, and apparently, and it's been proven that Queenslanders loved her for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, Ben. Like Victoria, there's been a lot of anti-Dan Andrews rhetoric, but we keep seeing those polls saying people like what he's done. We now have a case where there are no new cases across Australia while the UK is about to go into further lockdown. Is it about time people just stop criticising the people in charge and let them do their job, especially when they're supported by the people of their states?
Well, I think that the people who were the opposition parties are probably going to need to have a look at the way in which they handled themselves, during COVID, because in a time of crisis, I think our premiers have all been trying to do the right thing, and then it's come across badly. And I don't think it's resonated with the culture of being an Australian, with the way in which they've tried to tear down some who we could all tell, regardless as to who we were, that these people were in a difficult situation and were just trying to do the best job. And, I think they could have been so much smarter with the way in which they wanted to bring themselves in. But by being negative and by being, I think it was unsupportive. But I think the other thing about it was that it was unnecessary to be so harsh. That's what I thought. From oppositions right across the country.
Sorry. I've got to disagree with both of you. Being part of politics doesn't mean that you just get a free run. You can't be held to account, or can't be criticised, or can't be analysed, especially as your policy. So this idea of saying, they've all done a good job, that does not mean, it does not give them a free pass in order to get away with something.
But it's gone.
The other thing is, yeah.
It
certainly hasn't given them a free pass.
Palager was being bullied by the Prime Minister down. He sent the attack dog out, Peter Dutton, to have a go at her, constantly undermining her decision-making process. The Prime Minister of this country has not supported her decision-making process. The Liberal Premier of New South Wales has constantly bitched and moaned about her policies, which have been supported up here in Queensland.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that that's all part of politics. Just because you don't I just don't understand this idea of, people can't have an opinion. They can't, go against their opponents. Obviously, Scott Morrison is a Liberal, Palaszczuk is a Labor. This is just normal. I want to see a robust democracy where the opposition do continually ask questions the same way that the Fed does to the current government.
Well, you know what? I agree with you that there should be robust debate. What I'm saying is that I think the electorate has turned against the commentary from the Prime Minister, from the press, all saying get rid of Palager. They have emphatically taken that away and said, no, we're supporting our Premier. And you've got to offer viable alternatives if you don't like the policy in place. I've heard no viable alternatives. In fact, the Prime Minister has congratulated Australia on having 0 cases. What did he really do? He's been telling Victoria and Queensland to open up, and what they've done has been proven right. We have no new cases. Everyone wants to take the credit. No one wants to make the hard decisions. And I would say the Premier of Victoria and Queensland have made the hard decisions, and now we're seeing Queensland is getting the rewards, and against every bit of political commentary, especially from the Courier Mail, they don't hold the power they once did because the electorate didn't listen.
Yeah. And also, does anyone else feel really disgusted with the amount of money that gets spent during these elections? Like, we just think about how much we're all, trying to be so resilient. And then you hear about those dollar values that were put into these campaigns to rival. And I just think they should have known that they were crap and just donated that money to the people who needed it.
You can't just throw in the towel, Ben. That's a free society. Unfortunately, freedom costs money. That's how it seems if you want to be elected.
Robbo, come on. You have to agree with me. Listening to the amount of money that was spent on these election campaigns just is extremely hard to look at during these times.
Oh, yeah. It's outrageous depending, but that's the shitty thing, I guess, is that they've got to get their message out there and it takes a lot of money to do that.
So.
But I agree with you. Outrageous. The amount of money that they spend, even just on how to vote cards when you get to a polling station, and they're giving out these reams and reams of paper. Spend it on something better.
Yeah.
But then
great.
I know.
That doesn't make sense because they have a right to advertise to try and get themselves elected. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I think that this is a point, though, Rob, and I think that we need to look at the way in which we do this, though. I think it's a really good point. We're so used to doing things same old, and I think that there is ways of being able to spend our money better, and there is better ways of being able to electronically
Ben, don't buy that new top that you're going to buy.
And,
Ben, don't buy that new top. Give it to charity. People have a right to spend their money. If parties raise money, they have the right. In an egalitarian world, that would be fabulous to say we won't build election campaign funds, we'll give it to charity. Never going to happen. And I don't think he's just doing the same old. If you're running for an office, you have the right to advertise for yourself and campaign. That's what it's all about.
I reckon some of those people would have been able to get in if they just said, we'll do a better job and all this money we were going to spend on our campaign has just gone to the homeless.
The only problem is that if you then lost the election, you'd be thinking, if I'd only spent that extra 100K, I could have got in.
Yeah,
anyway, let's move on. Australia Post has been paralysed by the Prime Minister and its embattled boss, Christine Holgate, should step down. That's the opinion of highly respected business columnist Robert Godlipson. This is despite the journalist also pointing out that Mrs Holgate has enjoyed a lot of success for the business, including securing a $100 million contract with the big banks. Her professional career began to unwind when it was discovered she had rewarded senior executives who worked on the deal with $5,000 watches. The PM wanted her sacked, but the board refused. She has since stepped down on full pay using her annual leave during an investigation. Ben, this is the biggest load of hogwash. This story, the new developments keep happening on a Friday when we haven't been on air, so we actually haven't touched this story. I understand that it's looking like her job is untenable, but this is complete BS. People get paid bigger cash bonuses than these watches. She brought in major $100 million. She did a deal with the banks where she stopped giving them a free service and made them pay for it. She has rewarded the people who made that happen. This is not unusual in companies for people to get bonuses. This is just the PM trying to distract from other issues, in my opinion. This is just BS.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if he's just trying to distract other people. I mean, I think at the end of the day, questions are going to be made about these types of roles. And I think that, just like what Robbo was saying before, questions are allowed to be made, when it comes to criticising the other party. I think that ScoMo wants to question the way in which this woman wants to,
No, ScoMo wants to distract from his other issues. You brought in a highly successful CEO from the commercial world. This is how they do business. This is how they get things done. Or before that, we had public servants running it who did the same old, and Australia Post was in trouble. We now have a situation where the people who buy the affiliate agreements with Australia Post are demanding that she be kept in the job because she has changed their fortunes. I was reading one article where a person who was running an Australia Post was making like $20 a week and now is back in profit big time because of the changes Holgate has made. Robbo, surely the PM should stay out of it and let her do her job.
Isn't it funny how sports rorts is okay
Yeah.
But some bonuses, private, well, not a private company, but essentially a commercial company that's owned by the government. That seems to really get the PM riled up.
Yeah.
We're talking about over $100 million slush fund of sports rorts. And here we're talking about some watches, which were given out, by the way, 2 years ago. Now, I think that narrative has been lost a little bit. They were not given out at the height of the pandemic. It was 2 years ago. And now they're all getting hot and heavy. I don't think he's got a leg to stand on until he fixes sports rorts. And so this kind of thing is just outrageous. I believe you. I think that it's a case of look over there a little bit. You know, it's
shiny object,
it's
shiny
thing
object
to happen anyway. Yeah, it's outrageous. Hashtag sports rorts all the way.
Yeah, and I like the fact,
He
Robert,
loves
you keep
sports
bringing
rorts.
up sports rorts because it is
Yeah,
an
he loves
important
it.
issue.
Yeah, it is an
Sure, I
important
do
issue.
love it.
It's
been a while since I've done it,
I love
actually,
the look
so-
in it. I love the look in his eye when as soon as you say sports rots, and you're like, oh, let's get involved.
Oh, I'm
It's
ready.
like me with gravy. When the gravy comes out, I'm like, oh God, we've got the gravy.
Oh, yeah. Sports rots is Robbo's gravy. All right. Let's move on. And it's another day, another presidential nominee gaffe. This time it's Joe Biden. The former vice president was talking about Trump's health care plans at a rally in Michigan. Have a listen.
Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
Let's have a listen to that again.
Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
He meant to say Obamacare. Mr. Biden has openly battled with a stutter for most of his life, something that Trump has often exploited. Now, Robbo, I will say, his story with overcoming his stutter is amazing. And there is a brilliant clip online where he's talking to a young boy who has a bit of a stutter and just stops everything to talk him through it and explain his situation. So there is a valid thing here. But this, is it a stutter or is it that he's just not up to the gig of running for president right now?
No way. Look, these people, both Trump and Trump, work around the clock and have been doing so for weeks and weeks and weeks. You're bound to get tired. Anyone of any age is bound to get tired after that. Also, they're not robots. Trump has made just as many ridiculous mispronunciations as Biden has. I just think this is really unfair to go, oh my God, just because he stumbled on one word. We all stumble on words all the time. Everyone who's on television, radio, they all stumble on words regularly. We don't all sit there going, oh, well, bloody hell, Peter Overton misspoke a word there. Should we get rid of him? Because he shouldn't be rather than you. We don't say that. I just think it's a bit unfair at this stage, really.
Can I be rude? There's been a lot of occasions where he has looked like a dottery old man.
Well,
Because
I'd
he
rather
is
the
an old
dottery
man. That
than
doesn't
the
mean that he
alternative.
can't do the job. I'm sorry. He is
I'd
an
rather
old
be.
man. He will come with the traits that older people have. And, if he stutters his words when he's trying to get his point across, I hope he takes the time to pause and get his point across in a different way. I mean, this is just a cheap low blow. I mean, I hate it when people come at presenters and say, oh, they stuttered or they didn't get their words right. I mean, anybody who knows what it's like to sit in front of a camera or stand in front of an audience knows that there's more than just you and your thoughts. There's so much more at play. We're already thinking about the next thing. So there's some real moments. And the fact that these two men are a lot older and are running for presidency just means that we already know that. We already know that older people mistake
look,
words and get things done. But that doesn't mean they can't run the country.
I agree
Plenty
with
of
you
other
that
reasons why they
I
can't
stumble
run the
over my
country.
words all the time reading these intros. So I'm, let he without sin cast the first stone. But the problem I have here, this is an 8-year gig. And when you look at Barack Obama, who was in his prime when he took the presidency, you'll notice the thing that happens with presidents. Their hair always goes grey by the time their 8-year term is up. It is a full-on job. This is a man who could possibly be the president for 8 years if he gets elected. Will he still be up to the job in 8 years' time? And that is something that needs to be considered when voting for the next president of the United States.
I think that 8 years is a bit. Obviously, there are 2 4-year terms, and obviously most presidents want to go for both of those terms. But I think we should just give them the 4 years. Wouldn't we just rather have someone who stumbles on the word every now and then, who's real, as opposed to the other candidate who can clearly say grab them on the pussy and awful things like that? Wouldn't we rather the dittery old man than this arrogant, disgusting, chauvinistic pig?
Sure. So what you're saying is anyone but Trump. So did the Democrats pick the right person? And we've had Joe Hildebrand, who will be part of our coverage tomorrow, on this very show, saying they had to. It would have been too divisive to go with any of the other candidates. So Joe Biden was their safest choice. The problem is that they exposed the Democrats to this dottery old man syndrome. It's not just one gaffe that people are picking up on, Ben. It's multiple gaffes. He forgot Trump's name.
Trump has multiple. There are countless compilations of Trump's gaffes over the past 4 years. Countless of them, just as bad as this one, where he goes, "Welcome to the moon." Yeah, he does the same thing. So what's the difference?
It's not about that, guys, though. Like, at the end of the day, it's not about age, sex, gender, it's what the Americans are going through right now is really difficult because there's so much noise. There's so much noise about Trump and Biden. And at the end of the day, they're racking their brains in that country to work out who can just do the better job. So that's all they really need to worry about, and that's all we really should be discussing. We really shouldn't be discussing the stutters or or getting their names wrong every now and again, or the fake tan or the white hair, or the weird comments. Like, at the end of the day, are they going to help the US? Are they going to be able to help the US in a really difficult time? That's what the American people need to be thinking about.
I think that's a fair comment. Hey, look, as I mentioned, Joe Hildebrand will be joining us on Wednesday for our election coverage, which begins at 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on Ticker TV. We'll have Joe Hildebrand, Angeli Rao, Dee Madigan, Bruno Boucher, and a host of others as we, every half hour, at the bottom of the hour, we bring you US election coverage, Ben Robbo style. The top of the hour will be filled by our friends Aaron Young and Ticker TV as they bring you the newsy events. We'll bring you the commentary and the insights. And don't forget, there is no Ben and Robbo show tomorrow as we take the day off for the public holiday, and we're going to prepare for the election as well. All right. He's Spotify's $100 million man, but Joe Rogan is already having problems with some of his colleagues. The outspoken and incredibly popular broadcaster has sparked concern among employees at the streaming service, in particular around past interviewees that he's had on the program, who they feel peddle an anti-transgender message. Even though complaints have been made, so far the company has stood by Mr. Rogan, who enjoys full creative control of his program. Robbo, do we need more censorship? Where are we going to get off saying what people can and can't put on their programs? Surely it's up to the audience whether they want to listen to that.
This irritates me so much, this kind of thing, because it's important. We even on this show try and have a variety of voices. Now, my understanding is neither of those interviewees or those interviews that he broadcast actually said, was peddling hate and whatever. He got on people who had a certain opinion about something, which we're all allowed to express.
Yes.
This idea of being, if you're against the left, then you can't say anything, because the moment you say something that they don't like, then you must be cancelled and you must be kicked out and you must be, hung, drawn and quartered all the time. Yes, there are some crimes that should happen, but not all the time. Like every day you open the computer, there's someone else who said something to someone that they got outraged about. Oh, well, they've got to go. Like, we can't have them there. It irritates me, this kind of thing. There should be checks and balances, yes, but we can't get into the way of just having beige broadcasts where as long as we do something that the left agrees with, then we'll be left on air.
Well, it's like the criticism we got for having Paleo Pete on the show. The thing is, as a centrist, what occurs to me is that people on the hard right want to get in the ring and want to duke it out and fight for their beliefs. They'll take you on. Whether they lie, cheat, beg, borrow, bite your ankles, they don't care. Yeah. People on the hard left don't want to get in the ring. They actually want the ring to be burnt down because they don't believe anyone should be allowed to express their views. That is the two differences between. And I'm not talking moderate left and right here. I'm talking hard left and hard right. You know, both have very firm set of agendas. They're not within the mainstream of Australia, but they hold really opposing views. But the way that they take those views is very, very different. But, you know, Ben, I'm against cancel culture.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we have the watchdogs in place, really. And I think, you know, we can't completely cancel people. We do need to let people voice their opinions, because 9 times out of 10, they probably are voicing an opinion that is representing a much bigger audience. So I don't necessarily, and I've got into a lot of trouble this year with this, and you mentioned our Pete Evans interview, you know, people wanting to deplatform people. I can see some parts of that argument. I can see it and I can feel it, and I'm like, okay. And if I go down the rabbit hole, I'm like, oh yeah, we should have deplatformed him. But no, and I think it is wrong. I think it isn't. I don't think it's right, is what I should say.
Yeah.
I don't think it is right. I think we do sometimes need to allow people to say the wrong thing, to open up a wider conversation. And I don't think there should be the disrespect either. You know what I mean? Like, just because someone has a difference of an opinion to you, and just because it might be criminal or it might be so heavily wrong, it's still up to the individual to be able to listen to that person and then disregard it. But let's talk about it first. Let's not shut it down.
And I really agree. I think you made a really good, like, a lot of points there, Ben, which were great. The other thing is, I don't know if you guys have seen it really quickly. It's called The Social Dilemma, which is a documentary on Netflix about the place of social media and what that does to our worlds. And one of the big things that they've discovered, and it has been known for a long time, is that if you're on the left or on the right, you're only going after information. You're only getting information that feels that, you know, ticks the boxes of what you've liked before. So you get into this kind of social media bubble that just reinforces what you think. So then what happens when you get out in the real world and you talk to someone else who is not as that way as you on the left or the right? They can't understand why you don't understand what they're saying, because all the information they're getting should be the same information that you're getting, and it's not, because everyone is getting different stuff. That's also a big problem. Well,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and I had that the other day. Sorry, I just was going to say, I did have that the other day. I had an interesting discussion with a friend of mine, and they said to me, your pool of people, whoever you're talking to, is not accurate. They were like, I'm talking to all these people, and that reflects this particular opinion. And it comes down to, you know, looking at the way in which we've seen these elections play out. You know, if you're in a pool of people that want to vote Liberal, you're going to think it's going to be Liberal. Do you know what I mean? If you're in a pool of people that are going to vote Labor, and it's not a true representation of what the general public is thinking, and we do need to open our minds and have broader conversations.
Couldn't agree more. And can I just make a note? I am loving the bird in your studio today, Robbo. It's I love it. No, I'm enjoying the soothing sounds.
I'm sitting here every time I'm off camera going, it's really close.
No,
really
do a Mary Poppins.
What sort of a bird is it,
out.
though?
It might just come and pop on.
Can we hear I don't know what bird that is, but do you know, the interesting thing about that bird is that when I lived in central Queensland, that's the bird that I used to hear all the time while, I try and sleep during the day. And I'm still working out, what is that bird that makes that noise? Does anyone want to come for us in the comment section and let us know?
Yeah, tell us in the comment section. I'm just pleased it's Robbo giving me that bird today and not the one he usually gives me. But
I like that.
Thank you very much. All that preamble just to set up that gag. Hey,
it was worth it.
Hey, Ben, now there's a big rumour going around that we were just speaking about him. Paleo Pete could be heading into the jungle for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. It's time for a hit of entertainment.
Well, thanks for that, Rob. I will tell you that this rumour has been going around now for a couple of weeks. It is believed that Pete Evans will be on the next series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which will be filmed in Wales. It's going to be a very different series to what we have seen. There's more that I've heard at play than we even realise. But look, the controversial presenter who was on Channel 7 is looking like he is going to make a move. He has not been with Channel 7, so he is wide open to go and work on a different network. But are they going to do it? I don't necessarily if the decision has been 100% made. It has 100% been on the agenda, and they have been discussing it. But I want to ask you guys this question. Do you think that Bev McGarvey is going to make a decision or take a risk with someone like Pete Evans? And we all know what it was like having him just on this show. Are they going to alienate the audience that usually watches I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or is it going to bring the viewers in?
Well, I think it's a risky move. What I will say is that I can tell you that Channel 10 turned down Mercedes Corby because they were worried about her being too controversial. So despite there being a big push within 10 for Mercedes Corby to be on the show, it ultimately got rejected by Bev McGarvey. We know the network is controversy adverse at the moment, and we're seeing that with the pared down Studio 10, and they're trying to make all their shows advertiser friendly. If Pete Evans goes on that show, you will see sleeping giants come out. This is a group of individuals who campaign against shows that have controversial people on them, and go after the sponsors and let the sponsors know they're not happy. And it's been a very successful group of people that have actually led to advertiser boycotts of some shows, especially on Sky News After Dark. So I think this is filled with controversy. I have no problem with it. I put Pete on this show. I have no problems with alternative views and the entertainment factor, but I think it will be something huge if this gets up, and I don't expect it to happen. Ben, they shoot in like a couple of weeks, don't they?
Yeah, they do. So the production will be starting at the very end of November. It is a shorter shoot. It is believed that all the celebrities have already been locked down. They will always have a few things moved around at the last minute, and things do happen at the last minute. But I can tell you one thing, and that is that it has been a serious conversation, and it's a very real reality.
Yeah, well, we shall watch this space, and I'm sure you'll bring it to us first. All right, Robbo, it's over to you.
Robert, thank you. Today is November 2. Let's find out what has happened on this day throughout history. And first up, it was on this day back in 1867 that the women's fashion magazine Harper's Bazaar was first published. It was originally a weekly magazine catering to women in the middle and upper class, at this time showcasing Germany and Paris in a newspaper design format. It wasn't for another 34 years that it changed to monthly. And it was on November 2nd, 1983 that Thriller by Michael Jackson was released as a single worldwide. It remains one of the best selling singles of all time, having sold over 9 million copies. The song topped the charts all around the world, and in the week of his death, sold a further 167 copies.
Wow.
And finally, it was on this day in 2003 that the US sitcom Arrested Development premiered. The series followed a wealthy, dysfunctional family that had fallen on hard times and starred the likes of Jason Bateman, Portia de Rossi and Will Arnett. It originally ran for 3 seasons and in 2013 was picked up for 2 more with Netflix. I love Arrested Development.
Me too. One of my most favourite TV shows ever. All right, thank you, Robbo. Well, she won over the hearts of the nation when she returned to the kitchen in Masterchef Back to Win. And now, 3 months later, we're checking in with our favourite queen of desserts, Jess Lemon. Jess, welcome back to the Ben, Robin, Robbo show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Look, seriously, it's a pleasure. You are loved all across Australia and now the world. I can't even tell you, we're still getting comments from our interview with you because MasterChef is now airing in places like the UK. Is it strange essentially going through that whole process again as people watch it for the first time?
It is kind of weird. I think, I know that I think India just aired, and then internationally it just aired as well, and then people would send their love to you, and it's so sweet. It's so heartwarming. So, yeah, no, it's good.
Lovely.
And what an opportunity it is as well. To be offered the opportunity to be on the show twice. How has being on MasterChef twice changed your life?
It's changed my life completely the first time around, but I think the second time around, now that I'm more older and more mature, it sort of helped me get my branding in check. I mean, now I have my own cake business. We've renovated a space for a cooking school, but because of COVID, things has changed. But I am looking for a property, so we'll see how things go this year.
So, Jess, would you ever go back, or even as a guest judge?
Oh, I wouldn't want to go back again as a contestant. It was so stressful. But I definitely would love to back as guest judge. Those days are over.
Brilliant.
You know, when we last spoke to you, you were planning on opening a cooking school, which is so exciting. How's the process going with that?
Well, we wanted to start having the cooking school at the start of, I think, June, but then COVID hit, and then it was like, oh, okay, now we got to do something else. But then because of COVID, I was able to actually push my mixed tart set, which I'm actually specializing in tarts. But I am still in the process of renovating the space, and hopefully in the next few months, I'd be able to take some students in. So we'll see how it goes.
So, Jess, what is it about teaching people that you love?
I absolutely love teaching people because of the enjoyment of it. Like when you're teaching somebody and you can see them smile and learn something from you, I think that's pretty exciting. But it's more about inspiring young kids to cook as well and truly find their passion, whether it's cooking or something else. But it's just super exciting.
You know, you are selling your amazing creations on your website and are constantly posting Instagram stories of all the hours, day and night. You know, can you stop with the Instagram posts because it's food porn and it's too much, Jess. It's too much.
We can't handle it. We can't take it.
But look, you're
Sorry,
actually...
more coming.
Well, this is the thing. You're baking and shipping out the orders yourself all through the night. Is this something you hope to keep doing, or will you eventually need to outsource and keep up with the demand?
Well, I've got a upcoming order this November actually, and I've got 200 boxes to make all by myself, and that is about how much? That's 1,200 tarts I've got to make on my own. I don't have a team with me, so it is a bit nerve-wracking. But I think once I generate a better income, then I'd be able to get my own space, maybe get my own production kitchen, and hopefully have my own shop front that people can come over instead of me delivering every single like Saturdays and Fridays. So we'll see. 2020 has taken a turn completely.
Fabulous. But just know, you said 200 boxes. Just make that 203. We're your friends here at the Ben Robin Robbo Show.
We're in Melbourne. Guys, box.
Also, I was just going to say, you released a widely successful cookbook in 2019, which was called Zest of Jess. Can we expect a follow-up maybe with some new recipes for that book?
Oh, so Zest of Jess definitely was a big milestone. I remember I was inspired when I was, I think, 13 or like when I was 9, I received my first cookbook. And that's what started my spark for like cooking all the time. And I am planning to do another stock of the book, or I might do a new book, but self-publishing is super hard. I don't know whether I want to go through that stress.
Well, we hope you do. And look, you can keep up with Jess's ventures on Instagram at _Jess Lemon _. Jess, we continue to wish you all the success. Come back whenever you want. We love you. We're big fans of you. We can't wait to keep up with everything you're doing. Thank you for coming back and chatting to us on the Ben Robin Robbo Show.
Thank you so much, you guys. See you later.
It's the Random Life Shot of the Day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the Random Life Shot of the Day.
And here on Google Maps, we're taking you to the Western Wall. It's located in the old city of Jerusalem in Israel. The famous landmark welcomes millions of visitors each year. There it is there, looking very pretty in the lights. Today's weather will be pretty cloudy with a low of 13 degrees and a high of 21 degrees. Let's get to some feedback now here on the Ben Robin Robbo Show. And actually, what we're going to need to do, this is fun, this is live telly. The output that I've got, I can't read that text, Rob. So
okay. I'll do it. Mulk, who's on in a second, says, excellent paper shuffling prop and acting to start the show, Rob. Thank you, Mulk. It was very good, wasn't it? Jamie says, keep the border shut and you will win elections, it seems. Carol Spencer, a.k.a. Carlotta, ScoMo is like Trump. He's never wrong. Please. She loves it when I do her voice.
I'm sure
Bernie
she does.
says, the whole board approved those watches. It was not just her. ScoMo using her as the fall guy. Hey, Carlotta's back. Send your Christmas cards now, Dale. You might get them in the new year. And I love it. Trying to distract from sports rorts, Watergate and Runwaygate. That's about Scott Morrison, of course. Glenn says, I don't care about age or gender or race. I care about ability. Very good point. That's the presidential election. Oh, we've lost our live shot. Oh, don't you just love that? It's back. Patrick says, surely it's better than having Trump. And if the need be can't, he can still transfer power to Kamala. Yes, that's very true. Mary says, Ben, what if I'm in a pool of naked men? Am I left or right? Okay.
Oh.
As you do. Thanks, Mary.
We'll have that as a conundrum later on in the show, eh, Robbo?
Well, I don't know what that is. Yeah, yes. We'll get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, literally. Okay, it's time to talk TV with the one and only TV guru, Steve Mogg from TV Black Box. Hello, Mogg.
I'm wondering how thinly sliced the naked men are.
Like Straz.
I don't know.
I don't understand what.
I don't get that joke.
Well, just because you're in a pool of men doesn't mean that they're all in like human solid form. They may have been thinly sliced to fit more in.
Welcome to the True Crime Podcast. How to chop up bodies with Mogg.
Welcome to literal Ben Robin Robbo show.
Yeah, no. I think those two are acting like Rose from the Golden Girls, where everything was too literal.
No, I literally didn't get it, but I did a polite laugh, but I didn't get it.
Oh, we know.
I wouldn't have called it polite.
You didn't get it.
All right, let's talk. There's a lot to talk about today, Mogg. We know Denise Drysdale suffered a serious fall while filming Channel 7's new show, Holy Moly. Now we've got her version of events, as she told to Studio 10 late last week. Let's have a listen.
I fell over in a situation where I shouldn't have even been there. So that's all I can say.
And you were not playing silly buggers. That needs to be made very clear.
No, I wasn't playing silly buggers. It was 3:30.
Unlike some stupid reports.
Yeah, it was 3:30 in the morning, and a segment that I was doing shouldn't have even been even considered, and I did it, and I shouldn't have.
Mogg, I'm going to let you speak. But Craigie is talking about my stupid report.
That's Craig Bennett.
Yeah, Craig Bennett. And I have to say, sorry, Craig, I stand by my report. I've double-checked with my sources today because of your comments, and I can say that this accident happened in between shots. Let's have a look at the overlay, Amanda, of what this is about. And the fact is, Mogg, wouldn't you say she knew what she was agreeing to? You don't sign up for TV shows without some degree of knowing what you're going for. You know it goes until the early hours of the day. Now, there has been a lot of commentary, of course, whether she should have been doing the electric shock challenge. That's probably valid. But I have double-checked with my sources, Mogg, and there are lots of breaks in between filming. A part of it had been shot. There was then a break, and my new information is that she was chasing a golf buggy. So she was playing silly buggers. She wasn't standing where she was supposed to. There were silly buggers, so I'm sorry. I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with the commentary on Studio 10 last week and say I stand by my initial report.
Look, it's an interesting situation, isn't it? Because it really looks like if you weren't going to jump in, I was going to say objection, Your Honour, leading the witness as far as Craig Bennett feeding the correct information to Denise. Look, it's a horrible situation, right? Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, particularly somebody that is broadly as much loved as Denise. And for her to unfortunately, break her shoulder in 3 places, I think is the report that's come out. That's not great news. Now, at the time, whether it was however it was happening, it happened. For now, to be doubling down and suggesting that, I was doing the right thing and I shouldn't have been there at 3:30 and I did everything right and now it's not the thing, really does sound like there's lawyers flying around in the background, and that's not great, right? That's not helpful to trying to sort it out.
And Craig, there he is on Studio 10, is looking after his mate, and I get that. And I have a lot of respect for Craig, but you can't accuse someone of making things up and stupid reports when that is factually not the case. And I have
especially when you weren't there, Mr. Bennett.
100%. And, and look, it's terrible. We all want Denise to be well. We don't wish her any ill will. But you can't just say people's reports are wrong when they're not.
But he's just doing that. Like, I want to jump in and say something, and that is that the interesting thing about it... Hi. Hi, Mulkey. How you going?
Good.
The interesting thing about this was that it was really easy for us to have, thought, I wonder what had happened and to speculate. I mean, Rob, you always were told some pretty strong pieces of truth. And I think when the story did sort of spin out, it was because people were like, oh, was Denise doing the chook dance, or was she doing bacon and eggs, or was she doing the gorilla?
Which, admittedly,
there was
Ben, I did fuel that because I speculated that maybe she was doing the chicken dance. That's what she does.
Yeah.
I didn't say that based on any fact. I didn't say it as fact. I did speculate on that fact, on that issue. So I'll cop criticism on that. But my other reporting was 100% genuine.
There was definitely some disdain in there was definitely some disdain in the tone of voice that Craig was using with that story. I tell you what, that was the meaty bit of it that I loved. I mean, yes, he's supporting his friend, but come on. Anyway, Mulk, the new location of the block has actually been revealed, and you can tell us more about that now.
But, Mulk, before you get into that, I'll just jump in as a joke. I'm joking, Mulk, because I know you haven't. You've seen Paul Mulk has said 2 words in his own segment. So, Mulk, you have the floor.
Yeah, he's going to do his block in a minute.
Robert, did you want to say something?
No, I'll tell you really quickly, Mulk. When he started, I was doing every muscle in my body was trying to stop my eyes from rolling so far back in my head. For you, for love for you. So that's all I want to say. Anyway, that's all we have time, Mulk. Thanks for that.
Before you do your block, Mulk, tell us where the block's going to be filmed. Where is it going to be filmed next?
Thanks for getting us back on track for the first time ever, Ben. The block has been confirmed. It has been confirmed to land in a Bayside cul-de-sac in Melbourne. So this is huge news because it means that ostensibly some of the traffic issues that the block faces get really dealt with because it's one in, one out, right? Like it's a closed road. The challenge is that there are more than 5 houses in this cul-de-sac. And so neighbours are now staring down the worry that they're going to have to deal with not just 5 houses being constructed and all of the stuff that comes with that, but a number of other filming. And then they're worried about rubberneckers, people that are coming to get a sneaky peek at the block while it's going on. It could be quite the tragedy. However, what it does mean is that they can, with the council permission, shift the road closure out to the front of the cul-de-sac and actually manage the whole process a whole lot better.
Sure, but you do have to feel for the people living in that cul-de-sac. They did not, when there's renovations going on anywhere, it's bad enough. But to have 5 houses being renovated next door, that's going to be bad.
Oh, there's no question it's hard work. The one thing that I do know about Julian Kress and the team behind the block is that they work really hard to build good relationships with their neighbours, like really hard. And it won't surprise me if he, presses the flesh and goes and speaks with all of them and calms their nerves and does everything that he needs to as executive producer to help make this huge budget and high rating program for Channel 9 get filmed.
Show me the money, baby. Show me the money. That's what those neighbours will be saying.
An interesting surprise popped up in, I think it was a Herald Sun article talking about just this, that one of the advocates, buyers advocates that gets connected to the block, not a part of the block team, owns property in that cul-de-sac. You watch the price values on those blocks go through the
roof. It's a circle of advertising.
All right, Mulky, let's go to a very special 50th anniversary, and it is of the Goodies.
Oh, mate, they do anything, anytime. And look, all it does is remind us just how great Graham, Tim and Bill are. It's very sad, of course, to remember that Tim Brooke-Taylor passed away earlier this year. There they were on their Trandom that they made famous, the triple-seat tandem bike. This was my childhood. I loved coming home from school and catching, whether it was Inspector Gadget or the Goodies on the ABC. They helped develop and form my sense of comedy. I loved seeing them when they came out. They did a stage show. Oh, gosh, it would be plus 10 years ago now. I made sure I was there in the audience to see them. They are hilarious. And even the stuff that they've gone on to independently. But 50 years since the Goodies kicked off, say it ain't so. They can't be that old.
It's amazing. And, Mulk, it really did become a mainstay for Australians because of the simple fact it was played every afternoon on the afternoon show on the ABC. I actually think the Goodies are bigger here than they were in the UK because of the ABC programming.
That's right. Well, as you may recall, Rob, you're old enough. They actually played they played the series multiple times. So we got repeats of it, whereas in the UK, they got one run.
The goodies was like ABBA. We loved it. We commandeered it. I think we took it over. Like we certainly loved that element of of the UK.
And I saw their live show at the State Theatre in Sydney a few years ago, early 2000s, was it? And they still had their magic. They were amazing. It's really sad about Tim Brooke-Taylor, but great that they're being acknowledged with their 50 years ago. Amazing. And we all still have a soft spot in our hearts for them.
We do. And just before we finish up, Rob, given the great success of this segment last week, I'd just like to ask Robbo. Robbo, what can you tell us about the Wailing Wall?
The Wailing Wall is visited by millions and millions of people. I'm understanding news coming in now that Kleenex is trying to get a contract there because there's so much weeping and crying, so that we could see it sponsored by Kleenex. It's really, really...
Careful.
I just need to reinforce how much bullshit you are spinning right now, but thanks nonetheless.
I love a bullshit segment. I think it's great.
It's respectful bullshit, though. Very, very respectful. If you look at my nose, I'm a Jew, so it's fine. I can make.
Oh, hang on.
I can make these comments.
Whoa. Now it's starting to get
I am actually a Jew, so it's fine. I promise you, it's fine.
Right.
It's fine.
You didn't just join the religion like that episode of Seinfeld, did you, Robbo? So you get the jokes.
Oh, the dentist. I'm not going to fully commit to the religion, though. Okay, there's part of me that I can't give. Yeah, you can't take away part of. Move on.
There's a part
you're
of you
not snapped off. Okay.
Hang on. Don't stand all over my joke. Robbo, are you saying that there's a part of you you'd still like to hold on to?
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah.
Mulkey's, he's never let go. He holds on to that thing for dear life every day.
We can blame the goodies. Thanks very much.
Mark, we will see you at tvblackbox.com.au for all the latest TV news and gossip. Plus, we'll hear you tomorrow morning on the TV Black Box podcast, full of your wonderful insight. Thank you, sir. I salute you.
The dog's name was Indiana.
What?
He does things like this just to confuse me. I have no idea what he's referring to.
Wait, who's in Indiana? I need to know now.
Hang on, he's bringing back in. He's telling us. What was it, Mulk?
To absolutely pay tribute to the great Sean Connery, who has sadly passed. If you remember, one of his very famous roles, he was playing Henry Jones in the Indiana Jones Chronicle. And the reveal in The Last Crusade was that Indiana Jones's name is actually Henry Jones Jr. And Sean Connery says, the dog's name was Indiana.
Yes. Good point.
Whatever. You think all the worst, but...
Thank you, Mark.
I appreciated it.
Can I take that
My
salute
entertainment
back?
section doesn't have Sean Connery in it, and that's disappointing. I did send it to Rob, but he took it out of the entertainment today. So thankfully we got.
I refuse to believe there's not one person watching this show that doesn't know about Sean Connery, and also there's controversy around him because there's an old interview that's come out about the fact that he thinks it was okay to beat his wife, and Peter Ford talked about this big time on the morning show this morning, and. He doubled down in an interview with Barbara Walters where he said, I'd stand by those comments. It is okay under some circumstances to beat your wife. So a controversial figure as well as a much-loved figure. Anyway, we love...
Amazing how that didn't come out while he was alive.
Oh, they all
did.
It did. Yeah. It came out multiple times while he was alive. Yeah. The Barbara Walters interview was from the 80s.
We'll bring it up now that he can't... anyway, thank you.
But he was literally asked about it, Mulk, and he said, yeah.
I'll see you on TV Black Box for the record tonight. Yeah. All righty, bye now.
Mulk. Hey, we love a celebrity opening up about their truth, especially when it helps us on topics like mental health. Ben, time for a hit of entertainment. Who is the latest opening up?
Yeah, well, Justin Bieber's highly anticipated documentary, which is called Next Chapter, is out, and you can see him like we've never seen him before. Justin Bieber opened up about his past suicidal ideation with his experiences with mental illness, which I think is incredible. I mean, we think of Justin Bieber, we think of the audience that he connects with, so it was so amazing to see him talk like this so candidly. Check this out. This is a part of the documentary.
Man, I think that there was times where I was really, really suicidal. Man, is this pain ever gonna go away? It was so consistent. The pain was so consistent. I was just suffering, right? So I'm just like, man, I would rather not feel this than feel this. I really do believe that God works all things together for good, and I think sometimes it's hard to see that when things are so messy.
So, Ben,
Yeah.
does that
I think-
excuse him for being such a dick when he was in Australia?
Oh, look, I don't know, there'd be nowhere to go with that comment, but I think at this particular stage of his life and thinking that we all go through things when we're growing up, I mean, we have to remember that Justin Bieber grew up in front of all of us. I think, you know, anyone who's a child star and probably has had as much scrutiny as he has, you know, it's hard to see young people act out, but at the end of the day, he really has come into his own. I think that has a lot to do with his marriage, but the one thing I must admit, I sort of had turned off from a bit of Bieber, but I've got Bieber fever again because watching this documentary this morning, I just thought it was really relatable. And I think he's come a long way. And that's a really important story to tell young people. And that is that you probably can be, as you just said, a bit of a dick, you know, in your teens and your early 20s. And that's okay because you can change. But
And
look,
look,
just for
by the
anyone
way,
out there,
that comment was a genuine comment because he was a dick when he came out here. David Koch talks about it all the time. But it's interesting seeing where he is now looking back on that time. If he looks back on that time, takes, what's the word I'm looking for? Reflects on it, but also takes, acknowledges his mistakes. We all do grow and learn. We all do make mistakes, but it's about admitting that he made mistakes. And I like the fact that he's coming out and talking about his mental health. So I'm not being a smartass when I ask that question.
I know, but look, the thing about Justin Bieber that I found really interesting and watching this documentary, you know, it really did dawn on me that, you know, he had an enormous amount of pressure and he had an enormous amount of people picking on him for his looks, saying that he was girly. There was lots of, I mean, he really was stuck between two places, you know, being too girly and, you know, so that masculine men would pick on him. And like he was under an enormous amount of pressure at such a young age. And yeah, we've all got different stories about celebrities that have, you know, spoken badly towards, you know, the mainstream media here in Australia. But I will say, anyone, even if you're not a Justin Bieber fan, check out that documentary because I originally thought it was going to be like a Kardashian type thing and we were going to get to see a little bit of a doco that way, but it's really interesting. And for people out there that have suffered with mental health and suicide, you can always call Beyond Blue, which is on 1300 22 4636.
Good one, Ben, and I will check that out. The college admission scandal, look, that was one of the biggest news stories of the start of the year for Laurie Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, but there's a new development.
Yeah, absolutely. So Laurie, she is going to be spending 2 months in jail, as we know, after she was convicted. And everyone was talking about, would it be lawyers that could get her out of it? Could money get her out of this? But it looks like COVID could play a part in her jail sentence. And sources who are directly linked with TMZ have said that, you know, look, she's going to be isolated for the first 2 weeks of the 2 months. And that has a lot to do with the protocol. But then it also could change with the concerns within the prison system that if it is going to be creating any issues, any COVID issues, then she might be actually home sentenced, which I thought was really interesting.
That is very interesting. And look, just quickly, tell me about this controversy over some editing of Millionaire Hot Seat.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story. So like, as we all know, when it comes to editing on television shows, there's choices that gets made. One of the contestants opened up about working on a boat that Bill Clinton was on straight after the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So look, you know, what do you choose? A story where a contestant opens up about what it was like to work with Bill during that time, or to hear her talk about shampoo? We've got a clip of what was actually played.
We were on a trip, and we had somebody put a bottle of shampoo next to the sink. I thought it was water.
Yeah.
Drank the whole thing, realized it was actually a bottle of shampoo.
Oh, what a story. All right, Ben, thank you for another great edition of entertainment. Robbo, thank you. We will see you on Wednesday for our election coverage. Until then, take care. 9:30 a.m. on Ticket TV, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Bye-bye.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob.